Hi folks, Buckley here. Going to run through making an example part that's of similar difficulty and uses the same skills that you're practicing in assignment number 2. So we're going to be doing a lot of extrude and cut extrude and a lot of sketching operations. The part that I'd like to show you how to make here is this guy. This is one that is not included in your homework set. But it's the same level of difficulty, basically, of what I'm asking you to work on this week. So what you see here is an isometric view with some dimensions on it. This is not standard, so this is not a standard engineering drawing. This is how we tend to represent parts sometimes when we want you to create standard engineering drawings or solid models like I'm asking you to do now. So normally you would not dimension on an isometric, but for instructional purposes, you've got the dimensions on this isometric, and what I'm asking you to do is create a solid model that is the correct shape and geometry that's reflected in this sketch here. So let's just kind of talk about the part for a second, and then we'll get to how we're going to tackle it. This is some sort of a bracket. It's got a base here, this horizontal base, and then it's got this triangle shaped piece here that's got a circular feature in the top left corner, and then that circular feature kind of comes out a little bit. Maybe this is a bearing, so a shaft would pass through here. We're going to assume that this hole goes all the way through the part. It's a through hole and not what we would call a blind hole. You'll notice that all the dimensions here we're going to assume are in inches. This is held to 2 decimal places. Typically, these dimensions here look to me like they'd be to 1/8 of an inch, so this would be 4.125, but we're going to call it 4.13. This is the object. Let's go ahead. This is what we're going to wind up making, okay? It's going to look something like this in SolidWorks, all right? So this is what the end product will be in a couple minutes here as we work through it. Back to this. Our first thing that we have to think of is kind of the order of operations that we're going to take to construct this part in SolidWorks. And this is something that comes with practice. So if the first time that you try to tackle problems like this that are not really simple shapes, right? If the first time you do it, you stumble a couple times and you have a couple false starts, don't be discouraged. You will get better at doing this. You'll be better at thinking about how these shapes work and what the order of operations would be. So the way that I'm planning on tackling this is I am first going to make this angled piece here. Okay, so I'm first going to make this triangular piece, and I'm going to incorporate this curve for this circle up here. So the top edge is going to be curved. Then I'm going to extrude this back, so I'm going to sketch that triangle with the curved left corner. I'm going to extrude it back to form this part of the bracket. I'm then going to add on, I'm going to sketch on the front face of this, I'm going to sketch a circle, and I'm going to extrude that forward to give me this kind of embossed feature here. I'm then going to sketch a hole, a circle on the front of this, and cut it through. Okay, so that's already 3 sketches and 3 operations. First extrude, extrude, cut, extrude, going back. And then I'm going to work on the bottom piece after that. So I'm going to sketch on the bottom surface of this piece here, and I'm going to create a rectangle, and I'm going to extrude it down to create the depth here. And then last but not least, I'm going to fillet the corners using a 3D fillet tool. So that's the order of operations that I've laid out in my head on how I'm going to tackle this part. This again comes with practice. So if the first time, if it takes you a couple minutes to plan out how you're going to do this, and maybe it doesn't work right the first time, don't be discouraged. Keep practicing, keep doing problems. It'll get easier. And it's totally okay if it doesn't work out. So I still have false starts on certain parts. There's easier and harder ways to make these parts. Okay, so etch this into your memory, and we're going to get started here. Okay, I'm going to narrate a bit, and I'm going to move fairly quickly. So if there's a part of this that you need to see again, go ahead and rewind or pause me to make sure things are clear. Okay, I'm going to start with a sketch. I'm going to sketch on the front plane. I am going to start with a triangle, and actually the way that I like to do triangles is I like to start with a rectangle. And this triangle is going to be very interesting. Okay, so the first thing I need to do here is to ensure that the base is the proper width here. So that's going to be 4.13. Okay, and the height, I actually don't completely know yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another triangle here that's going to help me find or another rectangle that's going to help me find the center of that circle. So this center is going to be at, let's say, 3.38, and it's going to be at 2 inches over here. So I'm doing a lot of sketching here, guys, and that's totally fine. All right, so now that I have this point, so basically what I need is this base and this point. Those are the two essential features right now. So this base and this point, I'm going to go ahead and make this guy a little bit taller. I'll make that, let's say, 3.5 inches, just for fun. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to sketch that circle and see where that gets me. So I'm going to do a circle. That circle is of radius 0.75, which conveniently, you'll notice, takes me right over to the edge. That's going to be a tangent over here. Okay, now that I have that circle, I'm going to start deleting some of these lines that I don't need anymore. So what I really wanted to do was, find that center, delete that for a second, and then redraw that line. Come on, that didn't go all the way. Sometimes you have to zoom in to make sure that you're totally connecting. Right? That. What I'm going to do here is my vertical line here is going to be tangent. Right? So it's going to be tangent right here. Let me flip back to this drawing for a sec. So you see how this is tangent to the circle? This is what I'm trying to recreate, right? That feature there. So I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to wait for a very special cue from SolidWorks. See that symbol there? That circle? Let me zoom in even more. That circle with a line, right? That's the tangent symbol. So that means I've drawn a line that is tangent to this circle. Okay, now I'm ready to use my trim feature. I'm going to cut this down. Yeah. Sometimes SolidWorks will scream at you. And you've got this hanging piece up here, so don't forget about that. If you leave those pieces in and try to extrude, SolidWorks will get very angry at you. Okay, so I've got my, my basic shape that's ready to be extruded. Now I'm going to exit. Okay, my extrusion depth is going to be 0.63. And I like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to sketch again. I'm going to sketch that circle that I want to put on the front of this. Okay, and I'm going to take advantage of, when I go and I'm sketching on this front surface, this is where my sketch plane is right now, and I want to co-locate that circle with the center of this arc. So you notice that when I come up to that arc, the center feature comes up, right? That center of that arc is going to come right up and allow me to draw a perfect circle on there. I'm going to exit the sketch, and now I'm going to extrude again. Okay, and the extrusion depth here is going to be 1.38 minus 0.63. So notice here's an interesting feature, right? So I can use these text boxes on SolidWorks as little calculators to get precise numbers. So conveniently that's 0.75, but I wanted to show you that it can do basic math. It can do multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. All right, so that guy's gotten added. You notice that there's a line here, guys. This line is, I don't say a feature, it's not quite a glitch either of SolidWorks, but this line is still tangent, and this technically should not be showing up, right? So when we get to creating drawings, I'll show you a way to eliminate what we call tangent edges, but that's a tangent edge, and you've got one on that side too. but those are not real boundary edges. This is a smooth surface. Okay, so I've got that. Now I need that hole, right? So I'm going to go ahead and sketch again on this front face. Sketch a circle this time. Notice I used my circle feature. And that circle is 0.63 in diameter. There we go. I'm going to exit the sketch. And this time I want to cut, right? So back to my Features tab, I'm going to Extrude Cut. And I'm going to tell it to cut all the way through all. I could have prescribed the depth of 0.75 because I knew what that depth, actually 0.75 would be a blind hole. I could set this exact dimension, or I could just say cut through it all, and it'll go all the way through. Okay, so there you see, it goes all the way through. Okay, last thing I have to do on this part, gang, is to add that base. So again, flipping back to my drawing, I need to have this guy on there. This is all covered. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to sketch a rectangle off of this bottom surface. So my sketch plane is going to be this guy. And then I'm going to reorient myself just for convenience sake here, like so. Actually I might spin myself. Whoops. Spin, try that again. Okay. Rectangle. Come off of that corner, and come out. Now I'm going to set my dimensions. So first off, that width is 4.13, which was already correct. And this guy is going to be 1.25 plus 0.63. There's my sketch plane, and I want to extrude down to create that feature. Okay, the depth of that extrusion is going to be 0.63. Right, and the last little thing I have to do is add the rounding of those edges, which are called fillets. I'm going to fillet. The radius of the fillet is 0.25. I'm going to select which edges I want to fillet. That guy, and that guy. And there we go. And you'll notice, guys, that you see these same tangent edges here on the fillets. Those technically wouldn't show up either. All right, there's our part.